Hi there, lovely people. Welcome back to English with me, Katharine. Today I've got something slightly different for you. We're going to have a look at 10 beautiful words from the Jane Austen novel Pride and Prejudice. Now, even if you haven't read the book or seen the film, I still think you're going to enjoy this one because you'll have an opportunity to see some really old, romantic, archaic British English from a long time ago. So it's definitely going to be more like an archaic English vocabulary lesson. But of course, for the Jane Austen fans out there and the people who love the film Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley, I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to tell you the word and then I'm going to read out a passage from the novel so you can see the word in context and just to help you get into the atmosphere of it all. I will then tell you the meaning of the word and then I will tell you if it's still in use today in modern English, and if not, I will try to give you some modern alternatives to show you how the language has changed over the years. So obviously the language of this novel is going to be pretty archaic, seeing as it was written in 1813, and words like genteel and agreeable are just not in use anymore, unfortunately. So Pride and Prejudice has consistently appeared near the top of the list of the most loved novels by literary scholars and the reading public. It has become one of the most popular novels in English literature, with over 20 million copies sold. Over the years, there have been many adaptations on TV and in film, but I'm sure most of you will know the 2005 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, starring the wonderful Keira Knightley. If you haven't watched that film, I really do recommend it. It's just stunning. Go and watch it. So I'm really excited to have a look at the language, so let's get started. Number 1 is vex. 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 It would vex me, indeed, to see you again the dupe of Miss Bingley's pretended regard. So to vex someone back then meant to make someone feel really annoyed and frustrated by something trivial, really, by a minor thing. This is very old-fashioned, but is still in use, but just not used as a verb. It's now, in modern-day English, used as an adjective, so to describe something. For example, you would hear a vexing issue, and that would be commonly seen in English. But to be vexed or to vex someone, it's just not in use anymore. So the verb vex descends through Middle English and actually comes from the Latin word vexare, which means to shake, attack, or trouble. So you can see how the language has gathered its meaning over the years. But yeah, what a great word, vex. You vexed me. Do not vex me. Number 2, scrupulous. 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 What a lovely word. You are over scrupulous, surely. Now what does it mean? It means to be overly attentive, to be very thorough, to be really aware of the details. It has positive connotations because when describing a person, it means they're careful, thoughtful, and precise. So this word is still in use in modern day English, but here are some synonyms that you might hear as well. Meticulous, careful, thorough, fastidious, rigorous, attentive, precise, conscientious. And there's something about the word that just sounds like what it means, like scrupulous. It does sound like doing something with detail and being very careful about something with minute precision. Number 3, ardently. 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 I love you most ardently. So this is one of my favourite words. It's unfortunately not in use anymore, but I'm determined to bring it back. I'm going to start using it with all my friends and family and on social media, and hopefully it will come back. Probably not. So this is the moment in the story where Darcy tells Elizabeth his true feelings. So the meaning of this word is even more powerful. It means enthusiastically, passionately. Now remember, if you want a British accent, don't pronounce the R, okay? So take away that R so that it sounds like ardently, ardently. Number 4, cordial, cordial, cordial. Mr. Darcy walked off and Elizabeth remained with no very cordial feelings toward him. So this means polite, warm, friendly. It's a beautiful word. It's still in use despite being really old-fashioned. But actually, if you hear the word cordial in spoken British English these days, it's probably about the drink, which is like a concentrated syrup of like orange or lemon or lime, and you add water, and that is cordial, basically. It's really nice. But yeah, that's how it's used now, more likely. So cor in Latin means heart. And when cordial was first used in the 14th century, it literally meant of or relating to the heart. But this meaning has not been used since the 17th century, sadly. So yeah, cordial in Pride and Prejudice just meant polite, warm and friendly. So if she didn't feel cordial towards him, then that's not good. She did not feel good towards him. Number 5, endear, endear, endear. Bingley was endeared to Darcy by the easiness, openness and ductility of his temper, though no disposition could offer a greater contrast to his own, and though with his own he never appeared dissatisfied. So to endear means to make others think that you are lovable and adorable by your behaviour. And these days, the verb endear is just not in use, but the adjective endearing is. So you would use this word if someone does something really lovable and cute. You would say, oh, isn't that so endearing? Or you're so endearing. So it's interesting how the language has changed over the years, because it seems to me like it's becoming softer. So as with vex and with this word, endear, the verb, which is like the strong action word, has been kind of softened and taken away and not in use, and the adjective has come in instead. So it's just really interesting, isn't it, how that happens? Like, how and why does that happen? Comment down below if you're also interested in this subject. Number 6, impertinent, impertinent, impertinent. He has a very satirical eye, and if I do not begin by being impertinent myself, I shall soon grow afraid of him. So the meaning is to not show proper respect for someone, so really to be rude. And this word is still in use today. You will hear people saying, don't be impertinent, but you're more commonly going to hear the word rude, or perhaps arrogant is another good option for that. But yeah, if you want to use this, stress the second syllable because it really helps give energy and vigour to that word, which is what you need when you use it. So don't be impertinent, impertinent. Number 7, propriety, propriety, propriety. Mr. Darcy, with grave propriety, requested to be allowed the honour of her hand, but in vain. So this really means to conform to social standards with manners and etiquette and just behaving in the proper way, because this was so important back in those days. In fact, in the era when Pride and Prejudice was written, social manners and social class was far more important than it is now. Thank goodness. Propriety and impropriety were words that were in constant use during that time. Today, we're more likely to hear this in other contexts. For example, you might hear about the propriety of the relation between a judge and a lawyer, for example, or even the propriety of the relationship between the government and private citizens that they're dealing with. Relations between men and women still present issues of propriety, but it's often in the workplace rather than in social settings. Again, thank goodness times have changed. Imagine being part of that world and the pressure you would have felt to make sure you were conforming to the right social class all the time. You could just never relax, could you? Number 8. Solicitude. 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 When breakfast was over, they were joined by the sisters, and Elizabeth began to like them herself when she saw how much affection and solicitude they showed for Jane. So solicitude means a feeling of excessive worry and concern for something or for someone. Solicitude. It's just a lovely word. I really like the sound of it. So in the modern world, it's just about still in use, but you're more likely to hear the word anxious. Anxious and anxiety are the words that are probably more common than anything like solicitude. So you'll see here in the middle, the C is not a C, it's an S sound. So just be careful when you're pronouncing it. Solicitude. Number 9, indifference. 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 He listened to her with perfect indifference while she chose to entertain herself in this manner. So don't be worried if you don't really understand any of these quotes. It really is an old book, but I just love the language and I just thought maybe you would as well. So the word indifference is very common in this novel. It gets repeated a lot throughout the story. And really it was a hugely important word back then. It just means to be calm and even seeming not to really care. And this use dates back to the 15th century. So these days the meaning is very much the same. So it's used to mean lacking in interest, not really caring about something, being kind of on the fence or neutral about a situation or a subject. And synonyms that you can research and have a look at for this word are apathetic, half-hearted, unimpressed, nonchalant. So the way it says he listened to her with perfect indifference means he wasn't really interested in what she was saying. So typical British, it's a really polite way of being quite rude actually. Number 10, affectation. 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 Affectation of candour is common enough. One meets with it everywhere. So affectation means a deliberate pretense of over-exaggerated behaviour, generally designed to impress someone. So really it's not being sincere and not being honest. You're kind of showing off to impress others. Basically behaviour that is just looking for attention and is not very genuine. So this is still in use, but in daily English you're more likely to hear attention-seeking, pretentious, and grandiosity. So research those words because they're lovely words as well. But yeah, what a lovely word, affectation, affectation. And this word was first known in 1548. It was borrowed from French and Latin, as with many English words. I hope you enjoyed this video. Even if you're not a Jane Austen or a Pride and Prejudice fan, hopefully you could still take something from it. It's really the study of language, and if you're going to learn English, it's quite interesting to know where some of the words came from. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of video, because you know, I love all the classics and I would love to look at some of the language with you if you're interested. Hit subscribe, as I always say, if you want to. Obviously, I would love that and it really helps my channel, which is slowly growing. If you want, you can follow me on Instagram. All the details are in the box below. And there's also an ebook that you can download, which is about 5 tips for speaking, so you might find that interesting and helpful. Thank you so much for your support, your comments, everything is just so great, and I really am grateful. Have a lovely weekend. See you next Friday. Bye!